G'day, I'm Mark Hoth and welcome to Swift Almanac. Today we're going to cover your developer network, getting in touch with other developers who can help you sort out problems or determine if a bug in your code is actually a bug in the compiler or the operating system or the API, which will save you hours. Let's have a look at ways you can expand your developer network. So the way that most developers learn is through either watching tutorials on YouTube or from finding sample code on sites such as Stack Overview. However, when you're at the leading or the bleeding edge of development in new compilers or running betas or the rampant release of new operating systems, the first place that you need to be looking is the Apple developer forums. Here you'll have experts for Apple and long-time developers who are working on large projects be able to assist you with determining whether or not a bug in your code is actually a bug in the operating system, and they do exist. Most recently, between versions 10 and 10.3 of the operating system, iBeacons weren't working, and there's a great big thread on how they got broke and the like, and one of my projects basically went on hold for 6 months until that was fixed in the 10.3 release. So I would never have known about it, and I did spend weeks trying to debug why it wasn't working until I got onto the Apple developer forums and started doing some searching. So once you've got your Apple ID and Apple developer account up and running, which you should have by now, you can also log into the support area. You go through to this website, forums.developer.apple.com/welcome, and you can go into the forums or type in a question and it will come up with the appropriate responses that you're looking for. The second website that you should look at is Stack Overview. You can set up a little profile here. Again, use your email. The good thing about Stack Overview is it's not just Apple, it's all things development. So we're going to be looking at Firebase. It'll give you some Firebase question and answers. You could be looking at third-party APIs like Alamo Fire, and it'll give you Q&As on those. You could be looking at the Facebook API or the Google API, and it will give you answers to those. And you might need to do some back-end solutions. So you could be using something like Node.js, and it will give you question and answers on that. You build up your profile, and the more that you contribute or in answering other people's questions, you give you points, or you can just go through and find people's example source code and cut and paste that into your program to fix out your problem. Now, when I learnt to program Swift, I did a couple of searches. You can search YouTube, Xcode 9, Swift 4, or anything that you're wanting to search on YouTube will come up with a video. This gentleman here, Jared Davidson, I followed some of his tutorials initially to get started, and he's got a channel that's got 49,000 subscribers, so he's substantially larger than me, but a lot of his information is now dated because it relates to Swift 3. And the other person who I've been following is also in this list. There he is, Brian Vaughn. He's got a channel called Let's Build That App. Brian is a pretty advanced developer and seems like a pretty nice guy. He's got a channel called Let's Build That App, and basically what he does is he looks at various different popular apps such as Twitter or Facebook, and he progressively and slowly builds a duplicate program of that app, showing you how to use the various different components. One thing that Brian does do is he doesn't use the storyboards. He does everything programmatically in code, so that's also a bit challenging as a first starter, but it's also very good to get an understanding of what's happening with your memory management and what's actually happening with the code development. Additionally, what you can do is check out my website, swiftalmanac.com, where there's a lot of information, or there's going to be quite soon, about iOS development, beginners and advanced, Firebase, which is a Google database, which is a NoSQL database. There'll be some information on getting career, and once we've got a few more subscribers, we'll be doing YouTube live sessions once or twice a week to answer questions or to give demonstrations. But this is going to help you to build your developer network. And then finally, one thing that you will hear about as it comes up to what will be spring, or the American spring of 2018, will be the Worldwide Developers Conference, or the WWDC. It's not wrestling, it's the Worldwide Developers Conference, which is a great opportunity to find out what's new in the world of Apple developers, but it's also a great networking opportunity to go and meet other like-minded Swift and iOS developers and see what's going on. You do need to pay for it. Not quite sure what the charge is. However, following the Worldwide Developers Conference, there is also the Alt.con, which is the Alternate Developers Conference, and that's substantially cheaper. And a lot of the developers who were at the WWDC will also be at alt.com. So those are two events that you can actually meet people, have a chat and network, and potentially find work or jobs or staff. So keep those in mind as well. Finally, we'll be using some APIs such as the Facebook API or the Google API. Any of those APIs also have developer groups or developer websites where you can ask Q&A questions directly related to their products. They're also worth chatting to and looking at. So there's two caveats. The first caveat is play nice when you're on these sites. A lot of people are egotistical on these sites and they say, oh, you're a muppet or a newbie or whatever. Just get the answers that you can, and when you can help people, help them and give them the best descriptions that you can, but don't have any attitude. The second thing is that in the last 18 months, we've had 3 revisions, major revisions of the operating system, and 3 major revisions of Swift, Swift 2.2, Swift 3, 3.1, and now Swift 4, and obviously Xcode has gone from 8 to 9 as well, and there are major revisions in Xcode. So we're going to talk about aging of information. So I aim to keep all of my tutorials up to date and all my videos up to date. If they're not up to date, then if you leave a comment and let me know, then I will redo them and re-upload them. All of my source code is available for download on GitHub. You do need to become a team member for the Swift Almanac organization, and it will cost you $10 a month, and $9 a month of that goes back to GitHub, because that's what they're going to charge me for you to be a member or a team member. So it's worth getting access to all of the source code because you can spend literally hours typing through the code as it appears on the screen, and it's a lot easier just to have the project and be able to run through it while the YouTube channel is talking. You have to be careful when you are looking at solutions. If you just type in Xcode into YouTube, for instance, let's even type in Xcode 9, you get some interesting stuff at the top, but as soon as you get past a little bit further, there you go, we've got an Xcode 8 tutorial, Swift 4, blah, blah, blah. Here we've got iOS 9 and Swift 2, Xcode 7 from a year ago. You have to be very careful what you download and make sure that it's actually relevant to what you're talking about. That's also quite specific. Particularly the notification manager has had a major change in iOS 10, and any source code you get that's prior to that, it'll say it's the notification manager, but it's not going to run. So just be wary that you're actually using source code and getting answers to questions that are now relevant under your environment of Xcode 9, Swift 4, and soon to be iOS 11. One last thing is, that's not a definitive list of sites. There are dozens of people providing Xcode tutorials and Swift tutorials online. Some are paid for, some aren't paid for. I suggest you look at several and find out which ones work for you. Find out which ones are at the level that you're at or slightly above, so that you're learning something, and follow those channels so that you get the most up-to-date information as and when they're released. Well, that's all there is to developing and expanding your developer network. If you have any questions about the tutorial, then please leave a comment below or hit me up on Twitter @SwiftAlmanac. Please subscribe to the channel, it's free, and check out our website at www.swiftalmanac.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.